Hello everyone, I'm Gabby and I have been asked by Sonia to give you guys uh, some words of wisdom about the terrifying reality that is leaving the dip head and trying to get a job and succeed in journalism. I'm just kidding, it's actually not that scary. Um, so I have so many thoughts about this, so I've been trying to get them into some logical order and written down some notes. So, yes, here we go. um, I suppose Sonia's kind of asked me to talk a bit about. I know a lot of people are interested in the cadetship, and I will definitely give you all of my thoughts on how that all works and what you can best do. But I thought I also just wanted to say at the beginning that in this job, I really think you can't have any specific plan that you expect to happen, whether that be getting the cadetship, whether that be getting a certain job, because it's just so unpredictable. And also, you're always competing against people that you really like your classmates, and I think, and also there's just so many ways to navigate through the changing and always evolving, ever evolving landscape that is journalism. So I think try not to fixate too much on the cadetship, and I think actually this is one of the reasons that I ended up with cadetship is because I genuinely just applied as a sort of I'll throw my hat in the ring type of thing. It was definitely not my plan, and I actually genuinely didn't think that I would get it. And so I think that taking the pressure off yourself in terms of, one career path, because as I was saying, at the end of the day, there's only 8 people that can get it. And as with most jobs, there's only one person that can get it. So a lot of it comes down to chance, a big proportion of it. And you just want to get all the things that you can control to the best of your ability. And then once that happens, you just let it go. And, you have to just, if you get rejections, keep going and trying to put yourself out there again and again, because the more you throw the ball up, the more likely eventually one will strike and you can get, where you want to go. So my thoughts, I thought before the cadetship, so I'm kind of trying to make it a bit more broad, not just cadetship, but I think all the things that to do with cadetship apply to just getting jobs and working generally in the media. So I think a big part of before you get a job is the amazing internships that you'll get the opportunity to go on as part of the course. And honestly, they are the most effective tool of getting a job, of understanding what the fuck you want to do or how you want to do it. They're really overwhelming, but they're such great experiences. And my main advice, and I think that for example, my internships were a big part in how I got to where I am now. And my main advice in internships is you will have this internal monologue in your head just being like, I'm crap, I'm so bad at this, and I don't know anyone, everyone's terrifying, they all hate me, I'm wasting their time, blah, 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 blah. And you just have to ignore that and keep trying your best and keep trying to be present, and whatever they ask you to do, doing it. But also, if you don't understand something or you make a mistake, just being really open about it and trying to keep a really open, communicative dialogue with whoever you are interacting with, asking them questions, and just being as present as you can is my most, because at the end of the day, you're not going to take down the government in an internship. You're just going to learn the ropes vaguely and maybe get some stories up if you're lucky. Having said that, I would always encourage you to bring some potential pictures into every single day you're at the internship, because, for example, when I was at Crikey, I would describe what I did as panic pitching. Like every morning I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I would look at the news of the day and think of some random follow on something, or come up with something. And then pretty much every single day at Crikey, that story, they were like, yeah, that's great, off you go and write it. And so I ended up getting, writing about 6 articles in Crikey over my internship. And that really helped, and, I got a good reference out of the editor there, and that really kind of solidified what I was doing. And I wasn't really expecting to be able to have written that much, and I didn't really think my pictures were particularly good either. So it's really easy to underestimate yourself, and I think you just need to fake it until you make it, and just feel the fear and do it anyway, and just pitch whatever story you have that you can think of. I literally, the first morning, had looked on the this government website. I think it was like the Parliament website, and this is a good example of when you do something stupid, you just need to own it. I looked on the government website, and the pitch meeting was like 5 minutes from when I'd arrived, and I just was like, I have no pitch. And I was looking through what was coming up that week in Parliament, like the bills, and I saw there was a anti-image-based abuse, like sort of revenge porn legislation coming through. So I was like, I'll just mention that in the pitch meeting, which I did, and they were like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, do an explainer on that. And so then I went back and realised that actually I was looking at the wrong week, and this was like weeks and weeks ago that this had been in the Parliament. It would have already been, in the Parliament for like a month or something. So I just had to go up to Buckley and be like, I'm sorry, I completely fucked that, and it was a month ago. I thought I was looking at this week's one, but I'm not. It's not even a sitting week in Parliament this week. What the hell? And she was like, oh, that's fine, still write it because not many people know about it, blah, blah, blah. So I think being open and being able to just admit when you make a mistake and accept that you're really not going to know much about what you're doing, and that's okay, they expect that. They're more looking at how you respond to the situation you're in rather than how amazing a journalist you are, because you're not going to be amazing because you've just started. Okay. I know that was a long diatribe, but I think that's really important with internships. Yes, so talked about internships. Okay, so then on to the cadetship and by proxy just applying for jobs. So the first part of most job applications is the written part or the application. So you got your resume, your cover letter, and your, if you're applying for some jobs, they'll want selection criteria as well. Like you have to respond to different criteria that they want for each application, and that can normally be really long and complicated and time-consuming. My advice is this is such an important thing to take lots of time to get right, because you're often competing against lots of people, and giving them a really polished and different and well-executed written application, even if it takes you a little bit longer, will get you so much further in terms of getting an interview. And then once you've got an interview, that's a whole different ballgame, but you've got your face in front of them. And then even if you don't get that job, I know so many people who've applied for a job, not got it, but then been given an opportunity later down the line. So I just think I can only speak from my experience, but the written application part, I spent lots of time on, made sure all spelling was correct, all, it flowed nicely. My cover letter, I really tried to bring in all the elements of my life and what I was interested in, and, how I thought I could contribute into sort of a really well-written, this is your opportunity to use your writing skills to sell yourself. Not to put too much pressure on this, obviously it's not a novel, but I just thought spending a bit of extra time on those things really helped in terms of applying for jobs, because, I applied for the job in Port Pirie and I ended up getting that, and then I applied for the cadetship and ended up getting that, and both of them I spent so much time on I really invested in the written applications, and I think once you've done a sort of really good job of just your first couple, then you can start just using that and adjusting it for each job, and it becomes less time consuming. But spending that block of time, making a resume, making everything really good, I think is one of the best investments in terms of getting you further along the line. And I'm not going to go into nitty gritty of that, but just, sell yourself, think about what you're passionate about and what you can genuinely bring, and just follow all the advice that, they give you in the DipEd, because it's really good advice. But the main thing is, I would say, invest your time in that. Like, I spent about 2 days on my written application for my job in Port Pirie, and I should explain, sorry, before I got the cadetship, I had applied for a permanent role in ABC Port Pirie as a reporter, and I got that job, and that was a very similar application process to the cadetship. So all of these skills kind of work across most things. In the cadetship, I should just say, it's not using your resume, which I thought it was going to be, or you don't have to do whatever it's called, a cover letter. It's kind of like an online survey. So it's like questions and then you fill in answers below, but it is like a CV sort of thing. Like they ask you about your previous experience. You give them references. They ask you a few like newsy questions, like what do you think the biggest news story this year, international news story this year was, and why? And what do you think the biggest national news story was, and why? And all of those questions, it's more about showing that you are interested and can put together an argument. There's no right or wrong answer. So don't, as I say, just really think about it and try and be honest, and, you'll be fine. The second part of the cadetship, if you get past that first selection, is a screen test and a written test. Now, contrary to legend, the written test is not a news quiz, which is what I thought it was. So I completely misprepared for that. Apparently, a few years ago, they stopped doing the news quiz, and now it's become like a writing test. So you get examples of a story, and you get like elements of a story, and you have to write. There's about 4 questions, and they're all different scenarios, and you have to write, like, say, a radio copy for one of them, and then the first 4 lines of an online story for one of them, and one of them was like writing the banner for a News 24 story about something. And they're normally a little bit complicated, so you have to kind of be able to read it, semi-quickly and get the most important information and then put it into a story. So that's where you're practicing writing, like we have in the DipEd not DipEd, I took a DipEd, sorry. What's called grad dip of journalism comes in handy, because that writing is really comes to fore. And once again, like everything, you will probably think you did a shit job of that. I did. I really thought I'd fucked that up because I hadn't practiced, done any preparation for it. But you just got to, they're not expecting you to write a perfect story. They're just trying to see where you're at, really. So as long as you've been listening to what they're talking about in the diploma, you'll be fine. The screen test is just, you have to read some radio news copy as if you're doing a radio presentation, and then you have to do a live cross, obviously a fake live cross, based on information that they've given you. So the radio copy is already pre-given to you before, so you have it for like a week before you go in for the screen test, and same with the information for the live cross. And so you just go in, it's really quick, they film you in the studio doing that. My main advice for anything like that is expect things to go wrong. They are not going to care if you fumble over a word, or if you, you say something wrong. They're looking for how you respond to, and recover from those sorts of situations, because live things never go to plan anyway. So I went in really thinking that I really, it's probably going to go wrong, and if it does, I'm not going to freeze up. I'm going to keep going and show them how I can recover. And not only does that help you, but it also helps you relax a bit about it and not be so uptight and stressed. And the other thing I would say is, just for any sort of screen or like this sort of stuff, just be prepared so you're less nervous, because the less nervous you are, the better you're going to go. So I really made sure, for 5 nights before I had it, I was not obsessively, don't cram, just try and every day read through the radio news copy, like mark it up a little bit as to how you want to say it. So, you know, what words do you want to emphasize? And just every day do a little bit so it's really like in your system, so that when you come to do the actual thing, then it's less stressful, is my opinion. Once again, it doesn't have to be perfect, you don't have to be lead sales, it just has to be to show, and I've heard this from other people, it needs to be to show that you have potential and can be worked with. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking for you to be polished. I'm sorry, I'm taking ages, so I'm going to go on to the thing. So then if you get through that, then you get to the interview part, and that is a video interview very similar to what we're doing now. So they will video you, and there's a panel of about 3 people that will ask you various questions. So, few things about that. First of all, be really collegiate with all of your fellow classmates. I think we did that really well last year, our class, like our friends, but also just the whole group. We all, if we had an interview, shared what the questions were. And like with my friends that I knew were doing, say, if they were doing an interview with ABC and I had already done one, I always made sure I like explained what happened to them, and they did the same for me. So it really helps everyone, because then you have a bit more of an idea of what the actual hell you're going to be asked, and you can kind of be prepared for it. So they ask lots of questions like, you know, why do you want to be a journalist? Like a lot of the obvious stuff. They will ask, like, what was the news of today? What was on the ABC, you know, digital homepage today? What do you consider the top news stories of the day? Pretty much everyone has gotten asked that from my memory. They'll ask lots of stuff like, how do you think, you know, we can get young people involved in the news or reach more young people? They might ask, like, when was this, you know, lots of those sorts of situational things, like, tell us a time when you didn't do very well, or how did you recover from a hard interview or something. And my advice with all of these answers is, once again, be yourself, try and just be relaxed and have a genuine conversation. If you don't know something, say that, or, you know, think out loud and then try and get to where you're going. Don't feel like you have to present this sort of fake person. Just be authentic is my main advice. And also try and bring up what you're passionate about. Like, every person, if you're doing journalism, you're probably really interested in a topic or passionate. There's some reason you've come to do this and you want to get, say, into the ABC or wherever you want to go, to be fair. Try and weave that into whatever some question somewhere, because I think that really resonates when you light up. That's when they can see, oh, this person's kind of got the interest and the drive that we're looking for, and they're wanting that. So, I tried to do that as much as I could, but it's just kind of naturally happens anyway, because what else am I going to talk about? And also, obviously, just a disclaimer, this may all change for next year. But I think it's pretty universal themes. That's what I wanted to say. This is a really good example of just trying to not let anything that happens throw you. So for my first interview for my job in Port Pirie, I had done a phone interview where I was on the phone and it wasn't videoed. And then so for the cadetship, I thought it was going to be a phone one again, because that's what they'd done last time. But it was a video one. And so, thank the Lord, I had just been at work and was dressed normally, because there's a very high chance I could have been wearing my bloody dressing gown, but I wasn't. But it was a good example of like, oh, they were like, oh, we really want to film it. So then I had to sort of fiddle around with the technical side of things. And then eventually I pop up and I have like all the pots and pans of my kitchen behind me, and I'm just in the middle of our lounge room, and it just is a bit of an odd vibe. And one of the interviewers later on, like, subsequently told me they were impressed because I didn't sort of let that throw me, even though it was this extremely odd looking situation, and, you know, there was a bit of faffing around. I think just keeping cool and calm in those situations and trying not to, show how stressed you are, they love that. So even if it's going as badly as you could possibly imagine, just blast through it, because you just never know. You never ever know every time I've thought I've done really bad at something, I've ended up doing significantly better. And often when you think you do a really good job, that's when you don't. So you just don't know. So just try your best. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up. I'm sorry this has been so long. I'm so bad at being concise. Yeah, my main advice going ahead is pretty similar to what I said at the beginning. There is no one way to be a journalist. Pretty much all of the really great journalists I know, it's something that just happens over a long period of time. And, working in the industry, everyone I work with in ABC Adelaide at the moment, they have such diverse backgrounds. Some worked in print, pretty much everyone has done a stint in the country, but some people haven't. There's just so many different backgrounds and ways into wherever you want to go. And I think the main key is to not get fixated or obsessive about one set path. You've got to be a bit open and try and think a bit creatively about, what you can learn from where, and just apply to as many things as you can. Because and things that you may not think that you're going to get. Because literally every job that I've applied for since the diploma, I have not thought I was going to get in any way. In fact, that's how I got the job in Port Pirie, because I was like, I don't have to worry about moving to Port Pirie because I'm not going to get this job. And then I did get it, and I had to consider moving to Port Pirie, which, if you Google it, is a bit of a random place in the middle of nowhere. But it was, fine. It all worked out fine. But what I'm saying is, just believe in yourself, believe in what you're interested in. I think that's like the crux. If you've got the interest and you can develop the skills and you've got the passion for what you're doing, that is the most important thing, and that will guide you through. And you just need to keep trying, and don't get disheartened if the first time around it doesn't work. Pretty much everyone I know did not have amazing success at the first thing they ever did. And that has been my TED Talk. Anyway, sorry if that was a bit random, but I just am really long. But good luck. You're all amazing. We've all been watching from afar the next cohort, and we can't wait to meet you. We'll probably meet you at some point in our future careers, because I tell you what, everyone knows everyone. But good luck. If you have any questions or anything, Sonia's got my email address, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But mainly, just believe in yourself and don't give up, and you will kill it. Okay.